Hello, lovely viewers. Today I'm going to share one special jollof recipe which I've come to love. It is Dawadawa Jollof recipe, and I'm going to do it two ways. So I'm going to give you the modern twist and the original twist. So just in case you don't want to see your Dawadawa in, or you're doing it for someone who is new to it, there's a twist to it. And then if you want to go the local way, authentic way, that is also in this video as well. So I served mine with some fried egg and a bit of cucumber, just to add some veggies to it. So I'm going to start from scratch. So I use pepper, onion, tomatoes, which I'm going to blend together with my local spices, which will be down in my description bottom. I'm going to blend them beautifully in here. I've got some tomato paste. I've got some herrings, oil, some smoked smaller fishes. I've got some red beans, some carrots, onions, which is shredded, brown rice versus some white rice, because a local one or traditional one uses the brown rice. And then I've also got my dawa, which comes in whether you want it smooth, you want it the lumpy part. Yes, those are all dawa. So I begin by unskinning the smoked fish, the very small ones. So this is herrings, and then there's a dried puku, the very small ones. So shout out to my old lady, my grandma. She did this for me because I wasn't having my stand with me. So I just had to video Sashio skins it for me. Thank you very much, my old lady. And yes, I just came by pouring in my cooking oil in there. Be careful of the oils you use this day, the quantity especially. So just a little bit of oil. I add in my onion. I'm not going to really let it overly cook. No, once my oil is just heated up, I'm just going to add in my blended vegetables in there. These days, we don't want to overly cook and lose out all our nutrients. I'm just going to add in the tin tomato part very early, tomato paste. In Ghana, we've called it tin tomato, so it's come part of our dialect. But then there's tomato paste or tomato mix, as you'd want to call it. I'm just going to mix it in and allow it to mix beautifully and then start cooking up. And then we're going to cover it up and then let it simmer for the bubbles to come up and then the water to drain as much as possible and thicken. And once this thickens up beautifully, then we're going to proceed to go on with our Dawadawa Jollof. So what I'm going to do now is to give it a good stir, and then I add in the dawa. Then I add in my salt, and I add in my smoked fish in there. I'm going to stir all this up and then let it also simmer for the fish to soften, because if your fish is very hard, it becomes a bit hard to chew. Yes, or the jollof will be cooked and then the bones and everything will be hard. When you're eating, it becomes trouble. And I'm going to wash my rice. The local brown rice, Charlie, you have to wash it like 5-6 times, because sometimes there's a lot of dirt in. Some days is like chaff, the skin. Some of them, when they polish it up, the skin doesn't really go off too much, or the husk with the rice. So you need to wash it as much as possible to get rid of all the dirt and the chaff and the dust. Yes, our local rice is usually not well handled around here. So once that is done, I'm just going to incorporate that inside. This is the traditional way of doing dawada, but sometimes you can try to omit the tin tomato. Yes, so locally, you may not really see tin tomato being added in there, but I just like to add it just to add a bit of color to it as well. So once this is cooked enough, I'm just going to incorporate the rice in there. And I forgot to prompt you, but the dawadawa I poured in had the bigger chunks in there as well. So I'm just going to add in water to just help cook this up. And when it comes to local rice, usually they take in a bit more water. So you need to be careful how you work with it. And I've added in more dawadawa. So sometimes you can get it full grain dawadawa or blended, or sometimes they how do I say, they roll it together into a ball or a cylindrical shape. So I had a cylindrical shape type, and I just cut it into smaller chunks, and I placed them in so that you can see it. Because some people like to see the dawadawa as they are eating it. And for local rice, it takes in a bit more water, so you need to add good amount of water when you're starting to cook it before it goes in there. And I'm just going to cover this up and just let it cook by itself. Then when it's about finished, I'm just going to mix it up and then cloth it to maintain the heat. Now this is a quick fix version for our modern folks who don't really want to see their dawadawa, who may be new to dawadawa but would want to try the Dawadawa Jollof. So I've got my gravy. I add in my dawadawa powder. About 2 tablespoons or 3 is good for your cup, for like 2 cups of rice. The standard 2 cups of rice. But in Ghana, that's like 1 cup of rice. Yes. So I'm just going to add that. I'm going to add in my red beans to add the extra fortification, just in case you don't want to use smoked fish and not getting access to herrings where you are or eban where you are. And I'm going to wash my white rice about 3 times. Yes, I like to wash my rice no less than 3 times because sometimes the handling, sometimes it stayed on the shelf for a long time. Then I incorporate that in there, and I'm just going to mix it up beautifully. And I'm going to add a bit more of water to give it a good start, and my salt goes in as well to give some taste. So salt to taste depending on your preference. If you don't like salt, you can omit it, but then use the quantity of salt you're most comfortable with. Then you just stir it up beautifully. I'm going to add in my carrot from the start. You can decide to add in your carrots late, but when you're cooking and there are kids in there, or you aren't really a vegetable person, you can put it in early so it softens up as you're cooking, and then you're going to leave that to boil. So I'm just checking on the other dawadawa, which is the traditional dawadawa. I'm just going to mix it like, jollof dear. Jollof dear, you have to be just stirring. Then as that one is simmering down, I'm just going to make sure that I'm still stirring it up. And you can see the dawadawa shooting its head around. Yes, that's how beautiful it is. And there are some misconceptions. People feel it stinks too much, like when you cook, it's still going to go in there or something. But then the reality is that the scent even goes down as you cook with it. So it's not as bad as we perceive it to be. And there's a lot of nutrients when it comes to dawadawa. You should really see our spices video on a tick on dawadawa. So I'm just going to cloth this up and then let it finish cooking. Yes, whenever you're cooking jollof or any rice recipe and your water goes down or it drains off and you see your rice beginning to foam, you need to lower your heat and you need to cloth it to maintain the heat in there to cook it up. It's not good to use rubber. And I've had people ask me, can I use aluminium foil instead if I'm not finding a napkin or a tissue to use? Now, the thing is, when you use tissue is going to tear off. Yes, unless it's a kitchen tissue. And that one, sometimes it's a bit hard. And these days, a lot of things go into the things we use. So when it comes to even aluminium foil, these days, aluminium foil, lots of chemicals and things are going in there. So you need to be very careful. So a simple white napkin or towel is safer to use. And see how beautiful our jollof is looking. You won't even realize this is brown rice. So this is a healthier option. And that's how come our old people live longer, because they're eating healthier stuff. And this is my modern twist to it. And you virtually don't see the difference with the color. The only thing is this one has beans and carrots, this one doesn't have. And over here, even though I used white rice, you may not really catch it that much. The only thing is, white rice has its own feel, and this is jasmine rice. So you realize the grains are a bit longer than the local rice, which has a bit more protein in there and a bit of shorter grains in there. So I just plated the two together. So half is my modern twist and half is my traditional twist. And I enjoyed it with some fried egg because there's already beans in there, there's already fish in there, there's already more vegetables in there. But any more dainty, I added a bit of fried egg to it. And I really did enjoy this dawadawa. Like, I really did enjoy it. And my folks and my friends who also happened to share in it also did enjoy it. So this is especially dedicated to all my Dawadawa friends and family, and especially my sister-in-law, the Aisha. Yes. Well, yes, she inspired this recipe for me. So shout out to Sister Aisha. Lots of love for my team and I. Do subscribe, do like, do share, and do support this channel with more views and likes. Lots of love for my team and I. Mwah, mwah, mwah.